Down to the dungeon! That's where the Lord sent the wicked servant in the parable in Matthew 18, because the wicked servant wasn't treating the other servants right. He didn't respect those around him, and we need to respect other people around us if we're going to expect to be respected ourselves. Like if I go and beat up people, I'm probably going to get beaten up too, right? Law of reciprocity. So I'm going to tell you about ASL interpreters and how they interact with the deaf community so that when you meet up with one of those people, you can understand and respect them more, and consequently they can understand and respect you. So, because deaf people do need respect, that's what Brian Pete said, a deaf individual who I interviewed not 2 Saturdays ago in preparation for the speech. And after interviewing him and 3 other people, I came to the conclusion that ASL interpreters are powerful servants. They have to be people-oriented and they have to be highly skilled. So ASL interpreters have to be people-oriented. They have to fully respect their clients, and they can't be in it for the money. Brian Pete, like I said, says that ASL interpreters have to fully respect their clients as independent individuals. Can't be thinking, oh, such a poor handicapped individual that I'm helping and he needs my help. No, has to be seen more as equals. And once that respect is in place, then, and only then, can the interpreter do his or her job, which is be kind of like an electrical conduit, getting powerful communication back and forth between 2 people who maybe before might not have been able to communicate. Kelle an educational interpreter, described a situation to me where powerful communication and respect occurred at the same time. She's an educational interpreter, like I said, and a teacher came out and just started bawling out this deaf student. Now, Kelle, rightfully so, really objected to this teacher's inappropriate behavior, but because she respected that deaf student's right to know what was going on, she had to let that kid have it. So ASL interpreters have to fully respect their clients. Now, a typical human behavior is to stop focusing on people and get really obsessed about money. ASL interpreters can't do that because, like Irene Stark said, an interpreter who's been an interpreter for 55 years, ASL interpreting is not a cushy job. It's not going to make you rich. Probably can't do it 40 hours a week, and you're probably going to need another job to supplement it. So instead, you have to do it for the love of it. You're kind of giving back to the deaf community what they have already given you. At least that's how Kelle described it. And it's kind of like in Acts 4:32, where the apostles are as well sharing all their resources with one another. So it's a good thing, giving back to the deaf community. So ASL interpreters have to fully respect their clients, and they can't be in it for the money. They have to be people-oriented. Now, there are people who can get along great with other people on the bench, but once they get out on the court, they can't make a single shot because they haven't any skill. ASL interpreters need to be both people-oriented and highly skilled. They need to know more than the language, and they need to be professional at the same time they're being personal. So they need to know more than the language. Some of that stuff that the ASL interpreter needs to know is the culture, deaf culture, and how it's distinct from hearing culture. Codas, I am really, really jealous of. Codas are children of deaf adults, and they grow up bicultural and bilingual, so they know all that stuff already. But me, I've had to learn how deaf people interact, how they behave, what is precious to them, what is good behavior, what's bad behavior, what's acceptable. And ASL interpreters all need to know that, because all that gets factored into the interpreting process, which in addition to tons of other stuff, which I had no clue about, like ethics and just the interpretation process. So ASL interpreters need to know more than the language. When you're becoming acculturated into a culture, you're learning how to walk fine lines, like, am I giving too much eye contact, maybe not enough eye contact, kind of like walking the line between being professional and being personal. Brian Pete and Ingrid Reasoner, both deaf individuals who use ASL interpreters, were very adamant about how an ASL interpreter should dress outwardly. You know how some people have a lot of lip rings and nose ring all on the eyebrows and up the ears, maybe tattoos all over the arms, hey, Mickey Mouse! Or maybe a Hawaiian shirt like this, okay? That's not a good thing because, well, as you've seen, it's very distracting from the interpretation process. Plus, it's kind of difficult to take someone seriously when they're dressed like this, and they're supposed to be a professional. So inward behavior can be just as bad, though, because typical hearing behavior, that is, hearing culture, is to be very time-oriented and to stick to a strict schedule. ASL interpreters can't do that. If an ASL interpreter notices, oh my goodness, my time is up, I have to go to another appointment, and leaves the deaf individual there, that deaf individual will be very affronted because, been left in a lurch. So the ASL interpreter has to balance, well, I have somewhere else to be, but I need to take care of this, or I need to keep doing my job for this individual. So it has to walk that line. ASL interpreters need to know more than the language, and they have to be professional while they're being personal. They have to be people-oriented, and they have to be highly skilled. So that's why ASL interpreters are powerful servants. By now, I hope you understand a little more about ASL interpreters and how they interact with the deaf community. So when you meet up with them, you can respect them and they can respect you. We'll still step on each other's toes, but at least we won't get sent down to the dungeon.